All right, back with Theresa. Such a treat. Now we're going to dive into one of the single vineyards, correct?
Yes, we are.
And these are pretty limited expressions, offerings. What's the magic behind? Like, what makes this a soloist?
So what makes this one special and unique is the location that the vineyard is planted in. So it's in a neighborhood that's called the Santa Rosa Plain, and it's in a flat area, hence the name. So the cold air settles at night, helping the vines to really retain lots of vibrant acidity, fresh, really lively, vibrant flavors, lemony persistence. And it gets warm during the day too, because we are in Santa Rosa, it's in the Santa Rosa Plain. So you get the richness and the intensity, the opulence, the nectarine, peach, stone fruit characteristics, in addition to the citrusy qualities that you want in a Chardonnay from this area.
And then also with Olivet, I've always thought of it like, William Sellium was my first exposure to it.
Yeah.
Was it one of those vineyards you were like thrilled to get a chance to get fruit from?
Absolutely. And part of the reason I was so thrilled is because it's older vines planted in 1975. And the other thing that makes this wine special is that it's planted to Old Wenty selection.
Nice.
So it's an heirloom selection, performs really incredibly well in California. It's made a lot of famous Chardonnays. The clusters are notoriously small and the berries are tiny. And so what happens is it yields a really beautifully concentrated wine, but perfectly concentrated, not over the top. And so the richness and intensity that you get in the Chardonnay is more from those small clusters and the intensity of the fruit, as opposed to the ripeness, because we pick at lower sugars trying to capture the vibrant flavors and the natural acidity. That's the beauty of Mother Nature in working with something that's a natural product like grapes, like grapevines.
Yeah. Well, it sounds great. I would love a little taste if
Yes,
you
let's
don't mind
have some
popping
wine.
it.
Absolutely. Let's do it. Thanks for the reminder.
Yeah. And then does any of this fruit actually end up in the Russian River ranches?
It does. It does. So we set aside just a little bit to produce the Olivet Lane vineyard designated wine. As I mentioned earlier, we set aside the components of the Russian River selection first. We decide what the blend's going to be, and we set aside a few hundred cases to make the Olivet Lane selection.
And it's usually just like a couple hundred cases.
It's always small. It's our vineyard designated blends are always very small. I should have let you pour again, Keith.
I will gladly take it. Thank you. Yeah, that's.
So each of the vineyards that we work with, we pick separately. We pick the blocks within the vineyards separately as well. And we press the Chardonnays separately, and we use specific pressing programs that are targeted to capture the essence of place, right? So with Olivet Lane, the Old Wenty selection clusters are so tiny, we don't want to over extract. We don't want to rotate too many times in the press. We want to get a good amount of lees, solids, out of the juice, out of the fruit, but we don't want too much of it. We don't want the wine to be astringent from tannins.
And then before you get to the bottle though, like with your barrel aging, are you a huge fan of like on the lees, batonnage, or is it more like just leave it alone, let it go reductive? Like what's your thoughts on that?
So we do batonnage. And part of the reason is because we're picking at lower sugars. We're capturing really crisp, really energetic, lively fruit flavors in the beginning. But we want to encourage the wines to develop more texture, more creaminess, more richness. Because if we don't, they might be a little bit too austere in the end.
But it's interesting, like just on the nose, to me, it's like there's already, it's a little bit more brooding in a good way. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like, I know we've talked about the orchestra and symphony, but like how you can kind of have those like little interludes where you can kind of feel like the drums picking up in the back. And compared to the Russian River ranches, where that just to me felt a little bit more open and like, let's just crush it now.
Yeah.
This is like, in just a second.
Yeah, it needs a little time to open up. And that's one of the characteristics of that particular vineyard in the location in the Santa Rosa Plains that I mentioned earlier, where the cold air settles at night, helps the vines to retain that natural acidity and the really vibrant, citrusy, fresh lemon. Yeah. Well, cheers. Thank you very much for taking the time to taste with me.
Yeah, and then like the the Fuji apple thing coming through now.
Mm-hmm.
And
I'm getting anise again.
Yeah.
Didn't we talk about that earlier, or was it fennel? One or
tomato.
Mm-hmm. And just a hint of toast, just a hint of oak that helps to add that richness and that creaminess to the wine.
Well, and it's toast, but like delicious brioche, you know,
It is.
or like a Popeye's biscuit, which is
Like it.
not a bad thing.
No, love the Popeyes biscuits.
Oh, so good.